Theory used to be one of the biggest channels on YouTube. Every video got millions of views. Its creator, MatPat, collabed with people like MrBeast, Markiplier, and Smosh. And he made 4 spin-off channels that were also wildly successful, giving him 42 million subscribers total. So people were pretty confused when in 2023, 10 years into a thriving YouTube career, MatPat announced that he was retiring from YouTube and would be passing on his 5 channels to new hosts. But the truth is, that was the smartest move Matt could have made, because even before he left, Game Theory and all of its spin-off channels were already doomed to fail. So today we're gonna talk about who the heck MatPat even is, how he started one of the most successful YouTube empires ever, and how he eventually shot himself in the foot and ruined all of those channels. This is the story of Game Theory. But to fully understand who MatPat is and how he got to the point where he was filming YouTube videos in his girlfriend's closet, we have to go all the way back to the 90s, when he was just a kid growing up in the middle of nowhere, Medina, Ohio. Matt's childhood is so fascinating to me because he was such a nerd in a way that I didn't know was actually possible. And I mean that in the best way. Like, he was young Sheldon times Jimmy Neutron with a dash of Peter Parker to show he wasn't just a douchebag know-it-all, which is putting him on quite the pedestal of nerdiness. But legit, one of his parents' favorite stories to tell about him is from when he was in elementary school, and in a completely casual conversation, he dropped a direct quote from a multi-volume set of history books and cited the exact volume and page.
And they're like, that was the moment that we knew that you were smart.
In high school, he would skip lunch period so he could take extra classes. Over the summers, he'd take classes at local colleges. He got a perfect score on the SAT, and he once created the most Disney Channel plotline possible when one of his high school teachers refused to give out A+, so he called the school's principal and complained, and the principal had to force the teacher to give out A+. Like, that's straight out of an episode of Zack and Cody. You cannot convince me otherwise. But back to Matt. He also designed an award-winning trebuchet in his senior year of high school, which is like the fancy medieval catapult thing. And you know, Matt just set a new record for distance of a pumpkin launched out of a hand-built trebuchet. No big deal. We've all hand-built a trebuchet, okay? Get over it, guys. So given the everything of it, it should come as no surprise that he got a full scholarship to Duke, one of the most prestigious colleges in America, and decided to major in, you guessed it, theater.
What?
I know.
Now you're probably thinking, Chloe, what the hell, this makes no sense, to which I would say, good, I freaking got you, dog, okay? Call me M. Night Shyamalan with that plot twist. See, along with being the perfect archetype of a Disney Channel side character growing up, Matt was also a huge theater kid. He was a part of every school show. He was in 5 different choirs throughout high school, which I don't even know how a single high school has 5 choirs. He was the dance team's president and dance captain. He became the president of the men's chorus choir because he would show up half an hour early to their 6:30 a.m. rehearsals every day because he was so excited to rehearse. So his choir director literally made up a role for him to have.
I had one responsibility and only one. I had to set up the chairs before anyone else got there. That was all it was. I think Mr. Bianchi saw me getting there early and my enthusiasm for helping, and he's like, hey, I don't want to set up these chairs myself. You go set up these chairs, Matthew. You're president. Congratulations.
Like, he was the definition of a theater kid, okay? To this day, he still says his biggest regret in life is...
There was this one day that I was doing the dance marathon in high school, and I sat down for 30 minutes, and I didn't dance the entire 10-hour dance marathon.
So when he got a full ride to Duke, there was no question about it. He was majoring in theater. But as a backup, he did get a concentration in neuroscience, which is actually insane that he was like, yeah, and if Broadway doesn't work out, I guess I could just, like, cure Alzheimer's or whatever. Like, this man is a genius, okay? So he goes to college, and he is vibing and jiving, living the theater kid dream life. At one point, he was in a musical theater workshop class where the big semester-long project was to make your own one-act musical. So he wrote and directed Survivor the Musical, as in the reality TV show hosted by Jeff Probst. Somebody get Amanda from Smosh and MatPat in a room together. They could create a masterpiece. And I have looked, it's nowhere online. Matt released the files. In his sophomore year of college, though, something happened that would change Matt's life forever, because he was about to meet his future wife and YouTube partner. He needed an extra math credit to round out his electives, and his options were either 3D calculus or a video game programming class. And even Matt couldn't stomach the idea of whatever hellscape 3D calculus must be, so he went with the video game one, which was really a win-win, because not only did he get to escape 3D 3D calculus, but it also just sounded fun. Like he was gonna get college credit to learn how to code video games. That's sick. So Matt gets into this class and he immediately clocks that everyone else is only there for an easy A, except for him and this one other girl, Steph, who are both chronic overachievers. Like think Leslie Knope meets Topanga from Boy Meets World. So the whole semester, while everybody else is doing the bare minimum, he and Steph are constantly trying to one-up each other and be the best in the class. Like if the goal is just to recreate the bouncing DVD logo, he and Steph are each adding clues to turn it into a murder mystery game. So they're kind of rivals, heated rivals, one might even say, until the class final comes around, where you have to pair up with someone to design a single level video game. And given that they were the only ones who even remotely tried in the class, they decided to pair up. And while everybody else stuck to making like the most simple mini golf games they could get away with, they decided to make a Zelda parody game called The Epic of Stew, which was a fully developed 5-level side-scroller game with 8 different types of enemies, a bunch of different attack types, and a final boss level with multiple phases. Plus, if you beat the boss and rescued the princess, you then entered a dating simulator where if you didn't woo the princess correctly, you lost the game. Which, hey, not the assignment. All they had to do was create a single level game. They could have remade Pong and they would have got A+. But they made a game that could be sold today on the Nintendo Switch. And it was through this experience together that Matt realized, I'm in love with this girl. And Steph realized, too bad he's gay. Yeah, she was fully convinced that he was gay through this whole process, because not only was he a loud, boisterous theater kid, but he also exclusively wore stuff like this. But eventually, Steph realized he wasn't gay, and they started dating and bonding over stuff like how they'd both pretend to die in preschool to get attention.
I used to pretend to die too.
Are you kidding me?
I used to die to get attention.
Oh my gosh! Are you kidding me?
So 2010 rolls around, Matt graduates college, and everything is going great. He's with the girl of his dreams. He graduated Duke with a double major in theater and psychology, plus a concentration in neuroscience. He had top grades in every class. Everything's going phenomenal. He is full of nothing but hope and whimsy for his future. YouTube, never heard of it. Who cares? He's off to Broadway, okay? You're looking at the next Jeremy Jordan right here. But it's at this point that everything starts to fall apart. After graduating, Matt and Steph move to New York together so that Steph can go to grad school at Cornell while Matt can start pursuing acting. But while Steph is absolutely vibing away in grad school, getting perfect grades, top of every class she's in, literally learning how to cure cancer, Matt's life is quickly descending into the most miserable existence he could have ever imagined. Every day, he wakes up at 4 a.m. to go stand outside in the still dark streets of New York and wait in a 6-hour line for the chance to maybe, just maybe, get a 20-second audition slot for something. And more often than not, after waiting in this 6-hour line, he wouldn't even get the chance to audition because freaking Chris Hemsworth would show up and they let him skip the line because he's Chris Hemsworth, and the directors immediately cast him, close auditions, and now Matt has just wasted 6 hours of his life standing in a line. And the rare times when Matt did actually get to audition, 9 times out of 10 he wasn't cast because the casting directors had just seen hundreds of people audition before him. They'd already picked a favorite and it wasn't him. So occasionally, like 1 time in 100, he'd get cast in something. But even then, it was always traveling gigs that only lasted a few months, and then he'd be out of a job again and would have to start the whole terrible process all over. Like, sure, he got to be Chad's understudy in High School Musical one summer, but then the summer ended and he was back in New York waiting in another 6-hour line at 4 in the morning. Like, genuinely learning about this phase of Matt's life, all I could think was, oh, he's Sisyphus. He keeps putting everything he has into pushing that boulder up the hill, and every time, without fail, it just comes crashing back down. And the crazy thing about all this is, he was really good. During these Sisyphusian years, he started uploading some videos of performances to YouTube, and they're genuinely fantastic. To the point where when I told my theater kid friend I was doing a video on MatPat, their immediate reaction was, oh my gosh, have you heard him sing Joanna? He's so good. So I looked it up, and dog, they're right!
Pour it steady. Let me answer 100 proof. Let me.
Matt was genuinely a very good performer. It's just that the acting industry is the closest thing we have to the Hunger Games, and he was playing the character of guy who dies in 3 seconds going for the cornucopia. He was living paycheck to paycheck, driving over an hour away from his and Steph's apartment to get the cheapest, most dented up, almost expired canned groceries possible. He wasn't even making enough money to pay taxes. It was truly miserable. So eventually, after 2 years of living like this, he broke down. He couldn't do it anymore. He looked in the mirror door, and all he saw was a worthless loser who couldn't do anything right. His own family would literally apologize to Steph on his behalf for him being a jobless bum and ask when she was gonna leave him. Which, hey, that's insane. You can't just say that. What the hell? He was drowning, and it was Steph who pulled him out, who told him that he wasn't worthless. He was meant for more. He got a perfect score on the SAT. He got a full ride to college and graduated top of his class. He had the incredible work ethic that kept him going those 2 years. He was meant for more. He just needed to find out what more was. So they made a deal. Steph was graduating soon, so they'd both start applying to jobs, and whoever got hired first, they'd both have to move to wherever that job was. And Steph, being the genius she is, got hired almost immediately as an engagement manager at a biotech pharmaceutical company, which meant they were moving cross-country to LA. But meanwhile, whether in New York or LA, nobody, and I mean nobody, would hire Matt.
Olive Garden wouldn't hire me.
And he thought, okay, it must be because of my resume. Because after graduating college, he now pretty much had a 2-year gap in his resume, with the occasional acting gig thrown in there. From the outside looking in, he was nothing more than a failed theater kid with no real marketable skills. It's the infamous evil trap where you need a better resume and more experience to get a job, but you need a job in order to get a better resume and more experience, so what the hell do you want me to do? So Matt decided to create his own job. And we're finally getting to the YouTube part here, so stick with me. One of Matt's favorite YouTube channels at the time was Extra Credits, and they had just released a video about tangential learning. It was basically about how video games can be used as a tool to teach people, like how Minecraft can unintentionally teach you that lava turns to rock once it cools, or make you curious about how far into the real Earth you'd have to dig before you hit the unbreakable bedrock layer, if there even is an unbreakable layer in the real world. And if not, why have we never dug a whole tunnel through the Earth? And then boom, suddenly you're learning about the oceanic crust and why we've never made it to the Earth's molten core because of Minecraft. Minecraft has made you a geology bro. And as a lover of both video games and science, this video gave Matt an idea. To help him find a job, he was gonna make his own online resume by making YouTube videos teaching people about science through video games. It would show people that he was more than just some failed theater kid, that he was actually smart and motivated. So on April 14th, 2011, Matt posted the teaser trailer for his new YouTube channel, Game Theory.
Gaming's tangential learning experience.
And he locked in. From the jump, he and Steph spent hours analyzing other gaming channels to see what type of videos performed best, what title structures they used, what editing styles had the highest retention rate.
Researching every element to see what sort of jokes were working, to see what sort of language they were using, to see what color schemes and designs and imagery they were using.
They were analyzing everything, even down to the background color of the Game Theory show cover.
That dark blue color with the gradient was similar to like The Escapist and Extra Credits, which were other really big popular video game series at the time. Those were kind of their color palettes, and so I'm like, let's riff on that and kind of take it in our own direction.
So over the next year, Matt cranked out nearly 40 videos, all with voiceover recorded in various closets across his and Steph's apartment. And on topics ranging from how Mario is actually German, to what Pokemon teaches us about evolution, to how Einstein's theory of relativity may prove time travel theoretically possible, as seen in the 1995 Nintendo game Chrono Trigger.
Einstein said time was relative, right? Maybe I'm not late. Maybe you guys are early.
And after 13 months of this, he had gotten absolutely nowhere. He was still applying to dozens of jobs a week, and he was still getting nothing. But all that changed in June of 2012, when the company Big Frame approached Matt and said,
We don't know what we want to do with you, but we see that you're smart and you'll figure it out. And that was the single moment that changed everything for me.
At the time, Big Frame was a new MCM, or multi-channel network, which basically just meant they were a talent agency for YouTubers. They helped clients get sponsorships, book deals, movie deals. If you've ever wondered how Shane Dawson and Miranda Cosgrove both got not just 1, but 2 books each published, it's probably because of an MCM. And while it is absolutely wild that Big Frame hired Matt without actually having a job for him, they were right. He figured it out. He became their audience development consultant, where he'd analyze clients' YouTube channels and tell them how they could improve, what video ideas would work, what colors they should use in their thumbnails, really just all the stuff he learned with starting Game Theory. Which, speaking of, now that he finally had a job, he needed to decide what he was gonna do with game theory. And luckily, it was one of the easiest decisions he'd ever have to make. Screw game theory, it can die in a hole. He'd made it as a means to an end. He had the end now. He didn't need it anymore.
But I am a notorious completionist kind of guy, and I really thrive off of trophies and things. And so I'm like, ooh, but I could get a play button.
So he was like, okay, I'm already at 30,000 subscribers. I'll just keep going till I hit 100K, you know, get the play button, and then I'll be done. And then he hits 100K. And he thinks, wouldn't it be like cool though to like get the 1,000,000 subscriber play button? So now he's like, okay, I'll just keep going till I hit 1,000,000, and then that's it. Then I'll be done. So he keeps grinding on, and in December of 2013, he hits 1,000,000 subscribers. And guys, you're never gonna believe this, but when he hits 1,000,000 subscribers, then he goes, I can't just stop. Because now he's vibing and jibing. He is in it. He even monetizes his videos for the first time, which he was too scared to do before because he thought his viewers would be mad at him for it. And now that he's actually making the revenue of a YouTube channel with 1,000,000 subscribers, he goes, hold on, wait up, squad, could I be a YouTuber? But he's not ready to make that leap just yet, because he still remembers those 3 years of struggle and how long it took him to finally get the job he has. And at this point, YouTube hasn't even been around for a full decade yet. So in his mind, it could come crashing down any day. Like, sure, it could be the next big phase of media, but it could just as easily be the next .com bubble and go under within the year. But again, he was really enjoying making the game theory videos, so he wasn't about to quit that either. So for the next 6 months, his schedule became wake up at 6, go to work, get home at 5, work on game theory till 3 a.m., get 3 hours of sleep, wake up at 6, and do it all over again. Every day. No joke, he was getting so little sleep that he's genuinely missing like half of his memory from that year.
Because you crystallize your memory in your sleep, there are moments of time where Steph will mention like, oh, remember that time we did this thing? And I'm like, no, I was there, I was present, I enjoyed it, but all I have are the videos to go off of because my brain didn't get enough sleep to crystallize the memories of that time in my life.
So after about 6 months of this, he said, I can't do it anymore. And in August of 2014, he quit his job to start working on game theory full-time. And with his full focus now on game theory, it got so big that within a few months, Steph was able to quit her full-time job to work on it too. Plus, they hired on 3 different editors that same year and hit 3 million subscribers. They were popping, okay? But even with every video getting at least 5 million views, Matt and Steph still had this nagging fear in the back of their heads that they couldn't escape. What if we lose it? What if, like almost every channel before us, people just lose interest, or a better version of game theory comes out and people start watching them instead of us? It's every YouTuber's greatest fear, becoming nothing more than a Sunny V2 rise and fall video topic. So with the full conviction that game theory was about to die, they made a plan B, and they launched their second channel, Film Theory. Same exact thing as game theory, just with movies. So instead of learning about the possible dangers of organized religion from a 2011 indie game, or the chemical makeup of Minecraft creepers, you could learn about how shrinking into Ant-Man is theoretically possible, or how the Oscars have been corrupted. And by all means, this was a great play. It allowed them to keep making the same type of content while simultaneously attracting a new and broader audience. But it did kind of backfire though when game theory didn't die, so now they just had 2 really successful channels to keep up, which, don't get me wrong, incredible to have, but the work-life balance was non-existent, because they were posting weekly videos on both channels, every one of which taking at least 100 hours to make, not to mention the outliers like this one, which took them so many months to make that they eventually had to hire both an outside researcher and an aeronautics expert to help them finish it. And at this point, all Matt and Steph have is themselves, 3 editors, and a head of production, okay? The workload to employee ratio is not looking good. They are drowning in theory. But of course, a lot of perks also came with having 2 popping channels. Because in June of 2016, Matt was given the opportunity to fly across the globe and give Pope Francis a video game about a child committing mass genocide. Okay, let me explain here. In 2016, the Pope invited a bunch of YouTubers to the 6th ever Scholas Accruant World Congress. I'm definitely not pronouncing that right. And if I completely lost you with that sentence, don't worry, I lost myself too. But from my understanding, it's basically just an event that the Pope does every few years, where he talks about the importance of building a diverse community and how you shouldn't, like, outcast people just because they're not like you. You know, the kind of event that could never happen in America unless all of our country's leaders suddenly die of the flu. Glue. So Pope Francis invited 11 YouTubers from 10 different countries to do a panel with him, believing that freedom of speech and the variety of opinions on the internet help to build more respect towards diversity and unify people in the world. And Matt gets an invite to this thing, and in this invite, he's let known that it's customary to bring the Pope a gift that represents your community. So he decides to give the Pope Undertale, a video game where you play a kid who's fallen into the underground, a realm that monsters have been banished to after losing a war with humans. And as this kid, you run around the underground, trying to get back to the normal world. But along the way, you run into a bunch of monsters, and with every one, you have the choice to either kill them or befriend them. And depending on what you choose, the game can end two ways. The first option is you go on a genocide run, kill literally every living thing you see, and by the end of the game, you've become the villain. Because most of the monsters were never actually evil. They're just different than you, and you didn't take the time to try and understand them. But the second option is instead of killing them, you befriend all the monsters. And the game ends with humans and monsters realizing that they're not so different after all, and reintegrating as a society. So Matt gives this game to the Pope in agreement with his message of unity, and to show that gaming, despite all the negative press surrounding it at the time, can be used as a force for good, to show people that violence doesn't have to be the answer. Which sounds like pretty good logic to me, but at the time, people hated Matt for this. They were saying he just made the dumbest move ever, giving the Pope a game about committing mass genocide, or saying that actually that's not a good first game to get someone into gaming. Super Smash Bros. Would have been far superior to hook him in. Which, hey, is this thing on? Because first off, the goal was certainly not to get the Pope into gaming. But also, was your takeaway from that game that genocide is good? Like, if you choose the genocide run, then the game ends with the world self-imploding, okay? There's no way you can interpret that game as genocide being good. And it wasn't just that people didn't understand his reasoning either, because Matt made a whole 16-minute video explaining in depth exactly why he'd given the Pope this game.
Basically, the Pope asked to meet with YouTubers from around the world not to talk about being Catholic or anything religious, but to talk about how the internet can bring people together. Not the Tinder style bring people together, just the, hey, we're from different walks of life, but we're all humans at heart, kind of bringing people together. This year is his self-proclaimed Year of Mercy for the Catholic Church, a period celebrating forgiveness and compassion when one could otherwise choose to harm a person. And what's the recurring theme throughout Undertale? Mercy, from the most innocent victims to the most vile murderers.
But at this point, other than a little bit of internet hate, Matt's life is going great. Fast forward to 2018, he's got nearly 16 million subscribers across game and film theory. Steph is pregnant with their first kid, and in a kind of full circle moment, he's decided to sign on as talent with an MCM named Defy. But just as all the pieces were falling right into place like a perfect game of Tetris, Matt's metaphorical Game Boy exploded and his metaphorical house caught on fire. Right after signing with Defy, it came out that the company was apparently just a huge Ponzi scheme. So they went bankrupt, but not before stealing $200,000 from Matt and Steph to pay off debt. In that same year, Steph gave birth to their son Ollie, which was great. But what wasn't great was that literally a few hours before Steph went into labor, they learned that Ronnie, the first editor they'd ever hired, and a close friend of theirs for the past 6 years, had committed suicide. And not only did they have to cope with that themselves, but then mere hours after Ollie was born, while they were still in the hospital with him, they had to call an emergency meeting with their team to break the news to them. So what was supposed to be the happiest day of their lives turned into a tragedy. And then 4 months later, they had to evacuate their house because of the LA wildfires. And while everything did luckily turn out okay for them there, they still had to go through the stress of watching the fire line get closer and closer, and eventually fully engulf their house on the news, fully convinced that they were gonna lose everything. And I'm rattling through all of this pretty quick, but obviously every one of these is an earth-shattering situation to have to go through, let alone all at once. Like, imagine in 1 year, you experience losing a close friend to suicide, having $250,000 stolen from you, almost losing your home. Oh, and by the way, you have an infant to take care of. Like, I literally cannot comprehend the idea of having to go through all of that in the same year. And really, it all happened within 6 months. So I don't think anyone would have blamed them for slowing down the next year. You know, know, maybe taking some time to like have a mental breakdown. Those are always nice. But they didn't. Instead, Matt and Steph realized that the platform they'd built gave them the power to help people. And they intended to use that platform to the best of their abilities. So over the next year, Matt did a 9-hour charity live stream, raising $200,000 for mental health research. He made multiple videos on the Defy situation, bringing awareness to the villainy of MCNs as a whole, and how Defy owed not just him, but multiple creators nearly $1.7 million total. Steph made care packages for their neighbors whose houses were affected by the fires, and most importantly, they kept making videos. Because as dumb as it may sound, making videos about how many chicken nuggets it takes to break your fall, or which Spider-Man is technically the strongest, had built a community that literally saved lives.
I know from doing fan meetups at events like VidCon that a lot of you who watch this channel go through these struggles, that you're dealing with social anxiety, with suicidal thoughts, with depression. And what I often hear from you in those stories is that this channel, this community, has helped bring you through the darkest of times. A breakup, a loss of a family member, whatever dark thoughts might be circulating through your head. And that is the biggest honor for me to hear, that me nerding out in my closet somehow gave you hope to continue on.
So they forged on, and in 2020, they started their third Theorist channel, and one that has a special place in my heart, Food Theory. This was a channel that Matt had been wanting to make for years. Straight up, the earliest mention of it was in a 2016 collab video he did with Captain Sparkles.
This time, I'm joined by MatPat from Game Theory and Film Theory. And any other theories? Possibly Food Theory, or should I not say that?
Maybe one day Food Theory.
So Matt and Steph had been planning this channel for at least 4 years. And hey, you know what? The over-planning paid off, because within a month, Food Theory hit 1 million subscribers. Which tracks, because I think above anything else, Food Theory at least started, and we'll get to its downfall later, but it started as the everyman's channel. I mean, as a wise man once said,
every person has exactly 2 things in common. We all gotta eat and we're all gonna die.
They covered stuff from teaching you how to be a better cook, to how not to get ripped off by corporate America, to hot button food issues, asking the real questions of, is a hot dog a sandwich? Is Chuck E. Cheese recycling their pizza? And sometimes they did videos about the absurd lore of food mascots, which inspired some of my earliest videos. So I do have a real soft spot for the early days of Food Theory, which is something that I cannot say about their current videos, but we'll get to their and all the other channels' fall-offs in a minute. Skipping forward a bit, after an insane 2023, where Matt launched the fourth Theory channel, Style Theory, accidentally agreed to play in a PGA golf tournament, was a featured character in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, a movie based on a video game series he has made 344 videos on, I counted, and fulfilled the dream of his college self by producing a lore-heavy horror genre Broadway play.
It's a spooky new play called Grey House, and it has all of my favorite things: mysterious lore that you have to solve, spooky horror elements, and of course, a ghost kid or two.
He announced on January 9th, 2024 that he was retiring from YouTube.
On March 9th, I'll be hosting my last Theory episode, at which point I'll be handing off the channels to someone else.
This was something he'd been planning for a while, because even though he still loved making videos, he also had a family now. It wasn't just him and Steph anymore. Their son, Ollie, was almost 7, and Matt was stretching himself thinner than something that's already really very thin to make time for everything. Across all the Theory channels, he was co-scripting, reviewing edits, and doing voiceover for 11 videos a week plus 3 live streams, which meant that he was working 80-hour weeks while trying to maintain a healthy, loving relationship with Steph and be a present dad for Ollie, which in turn meant he was once again getting only 3 hours of sleep a night. And hey, as we covered earlier, not good. I'm surprised he didn't like die of exhaustion, okay? I one time for one night got only 3 hours of sleep and I wanted to die. I started crying because I had to get on a train. I was so tired. It was unsustainable and Matt knew that, so he decided to step away. Of course, he'd still be doing some sort of work, just a lot less and not on the Theory channel. No. He was going to become a politician.
What?
Ew! Throughout his career as a YouTuber, Matt had always been an advocate for creators. Going as far back as 2019, he helped convince YouTube to change the way copyright claims work. He made it easier for creators to get monetized. He kind of shaped the way that YouTube Studio worked, which is the app that lets creators see their analytics and find out which videos are doing better or worse and why. Like, maybe the most shocking thing I learned throughout researching this video is how how pivotal Matt has been to the history and development of YouTube as a platform. So when he retired in 2024, he decided to take it a step further. He and Steph took to the House of Representatives to launch the first ever Creator Economy Caucus, a group of lawmakers dedicated to protecting creators, working on stuff like AI regulations or how employment laws should affect YouTubers. And that's all fine and dandy. Matt and Steph are off doing great things, but that just leaves one tiny little question. What about the 5 channels with 42 million subscribers? What's going on with those guys? Like, are we full-on Jenna Marblesing this? Are all the theory channels just dead now? And the answer is, of course, no, okay? Because then the video would be over right now. Get with it, you freaking loser. I'm just kidding. You're not a loser. You're a winner. You're very loved by your friends. Matt and Steph had been planning this retirement for a while, and part of the process included them training new hosts to take over each channel. So when Matt left, Lee, the 3rd editor they'd ever hired, who'd worked with them for the past 10 years, took over hosting Film Theory. Tom, a guy who'd been doing freelance work for them for the past 3 years, and who literally grew up watching the channels, took over hosting Game Theory. Amy, who had worked with them for 7 years as the head of title and thumbnail optimization, took over Style Theory. And Santi, who used to work over at Mythical Kitchen, took over Food Theory. So all the channels were passed into very capable hands, and the entire behind-the-scenes team was kept on too. Nobody was laid off in this process, as far as I'm aware. And a lot of people cite this as the moment that the theory channels fell off. They claim that despite Matt and Steph's extensive training,
they had PowerPoints. They were like, here is voiceover 101. Here's scriptwriting 302. College level courses, basically. It was intense, and it went on for like a year and a half.
Yeah. Every aspect of this job got a moment in a course that lasted for like 6 hours.
Before that, it was like, oh yeah, cool, like great job on the script, da 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 da. And then the switch came where he was like, your lip twitched, and I could hear it.
The new hosts just suck. They've ruined the channels. The end. And don't get me wrong, it is true that the channels have fallen off. Game Theory, a channel that used to get 10 million views every other video, now struggles to hit 1 million. And Style Theory hasn't even cracked 100,000 views since last November. So yeah, these channels are absolutely falling off, but the reason why is a lot deeper than just new host bad. The truth is, even before Matt left, these channels were doomed to fail. But to understand why, we have to go back to the beginnings of each channel, and what they were all about to begin with. As we know, Game and Film Theory both started as channels meant to make learning fun, and to teach people about the world through different mediums. It used Mario to teach people about communism, Minecraft to teach people about spontaneous combustion, Zootopia to teach people about the historical racism built into drug laws. And in that same vein, Food Theory started as a channel to save you from getting ripped off by fast food chains, or help you become a better cook. And Style Theory was, I guess, about like clothes and hygiene. I'll be honest, I think it was their weakest channel from the start. But the point is, all the channels had the same underlying goal. They taught you about the world in a fun way, and that's what made them so popular. Like, take this Film Theory video from 2018, Venom is the Victim. You may only click on the video because you like Spider-Man, but what makes you stick around and watch the whole thing, and what keeps you coming back for other videos, is that you get to learn in a fun and interesting way how real-world science ties in. You learn the insane way that parasites work, and how they may be connected to schizophrenia, and you learn it in a way that ties into one of your interests.
Pizza time.
You end the video feeling like your time was well spent. You didn't just waste 15 minutes of your life. You actually learned something. I think the creator, Linus Tech Tip, describes what I'm talking about perfectly.
Our role is to make you feel at the end like you got more than just, like marshmallows and Cheese Whiz, like you got something of substance after you consume our content.
But the problem with all the theory channels nowadays is that they've all turned into marshmallows and Cheese Whiz. Both Game and Film Theory have stopped teaching you anything about the real world. Now they just overanalyze the niche lore of games and movies. Like in this Film Theory video, the premise is literally just, I think the Mario movie's gonna be a sequel in New York. Okay. Cool. Or in this Game Theory video, the premise is that one of the Zelda games from 2003 may have set up an alternate timeline within game. That's it. That's literally the whole video. Which is like, maybe interesting, I guess, but unless you're a die-hard Zelda fan, you're probably gonna walk away from this video feeling like you just wasted 10 minutes of your life on literally nothing. All the videos are now completely made up of something called regrettable minutes.
Regrettable minutes is like when you spend a ton of time scrolling and you want that time back. It
feels kind of gross and icky.
And food theory videos are the same way. They've turned from genuinely helpful videos on cooking and budgeting to glorified fun fact videos. Like, fun fact, people in the US spend more money each year on food for the Super Bowl than food for Thanksgiving. That's pretty surprising. It's a cool fact. But wouldn't you be pretty upset if you watched a 16-minute video just laying out the math that someone had to do to reach this conclusion? Like, hey, I just wasted 16 minutes of my life waiting for you to get to the point, and the point wasn't even that interesting. Maybe this video could have been interesting if they started with that fact and then jumped into the psychology of marketing and the specific tactics that brands have used to train us into viewing Super Bowl Sunday as an occasion to go all out on food expenses, and what marketing tactics we should be wary of as consumers. I'd watch that video, but to spend 16 minutes just proving that people spend a lot of money on the Super Bowl, you could have boiled that down to a 30-second YouTube short, and we both know it. Like, I feel like this video was a dementor that just sucked 16 minutes of my life out of my soul, and now I'll never get it back. I could have been FaceTiming my sister with that time. And this isn't just the fault of the new host, because the truth is they were handed a dying brand. These videos were falling off way before Matt left. That Zelda video I mentioned earlier, it was from 2023, before Matt retired, and he was credited as a head writer. And the video predicting that the Mario movie was going to be a sequel made back in 2022, and again, Matt was credited as a head writer. But that does leave a plot hole in this theory of mine. The views only started going down once Matt left. So if the video quality was falling off years before that, why was every video still getting millions of views? And genuinely, the answer is because Matt was still there. Even if the content was bad, people stuck around because they were so engrossed in this parasocial relationship that they had built up over the past 13 years. A relationship that was so strong because Matt fostered it. Not in a malicious manipulate the audience way, but in a way where he did genuinely view his audience as friends and wanted to let them into his life.
Just like a grandparent, you know? You don't get to see me all the time, and I don't get to see you all the time, but he so looks forward to seeing you, and the love that he has for you, it doesn't go away. That grandpa is so proud of you, and he cherishes the relationship that you've had so much, and he is so honored to be a part of your life, to have been a part of helping you grow. I love you guys. You're not just numbers. You're not just ad impressions. You're not just merch sales. What you have done for me, and from everyone I talk to, what I've done for you, is special.
Matt genuinely does seem to love this community, and the community loves him. So the audience endured this bad content because, hey, at least they still got to hang out with Matt for a few minutes. But once Matt left, there was truly nothing there for them, so they left too. And to be clear, I'm not saying any of this to be hateful towards any of the present or past employees of the company. Like, I think all the current hosts are doing the best with what they've got. They get way too much hate. And I am really happy for Matt that he was able to step away and work on the stuff he's passionate about and spend more time with Steph and his son. Honestly, I really didn't expect this video to become a game theory hit piece. Like, that was not at all the intention when I started, but I guess we're here now, you know? I am really interested though to know what you guys think about this, so let me know in the comments. I'll definitely be down there replying. And that's it, thanks for watching. Hey, if you like this video, you should go watch this one where I cover the entire history of the Try Guys. From how none of them actually wanted to make YouTube videos to begin with, to how the whole Ned scandal actually kind of saved their channel. Okay, bye.
I got the song.